Joe Litvag, executive producer of Carolina Rebellion, and you're listening to Backstage Access, where the real show begins.
Hey, this is Chris with Backstage Access, and we have a special guest here with us today, Joe Litvag from AEG Live Presents, and he's going to give us an insider's look to this year's upcoming festival season. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today.
Sure, my pleasure.
Now, we've had a lot of exciting announcements this week coming from AEG regarding World's Loudest Month, Carolina Rebellion, Louder Than Life, and we just had Rock on the Range announced. So, first of all, tell us what being Senior VP of AEG Midwest means. Tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got to the position you're in now.
Oh gosh, I mean, how much time you got? I mean, I guess I'm the ringleader. Our business is kind of like a circus, and every great circus needs a ringleader. So, look, we've got an incredibly talented group of people, and they all are, experts in their respective areas, and my job is just to kind of steer the ship and help plot out the overall direction for AEG Presents presence in the Midwest, be it festivals, one-off concerts around the region, venues, etc. So that's kind of what I do. I started just like probably a bunch of other people started. I started, I'm proud to say, at the very bottom as an unpaid intern and worked my way up through the ranks, and here we are.
Awesome. Now, what about involvement with specific festivals? Are you ever there in a kind of boots-on-the-ground type role?
Absolutely. Every festival that I'm involved with, I am there hands-on every day of the festival and several days prior, just because that's part of it is, I try not to be too much of a control freak, but I do like things a certain way, and fortunately I have a team of people that like things to be the same way, so they know exactly what we're all striving for, but I'm definitely there every day of every festival that we're involved with producing, because so much of the learnings are learned on site.
Right.
Listening to the fans, watching the fans, all those types of things. So yeah, it's definitely not a phone it in type position.
Cool. Now, putting together festivals of this size and nature has to be just a huge undertaking. Would you give us a brief idea of what's involved each year in order to get an event like Carolina Rebellion up and going?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a tremendous amount of work, and it literally takes an army of people to make it happen. And it used to be in the festival business, 15 years ago, even maybe as recent as 10 years ago, a festival, at least for me, would be a 6-month project.
Okay.
And over time, they've evolved, and they really have become year-round, 365-day-a-year projects that we're working on the different components, be it the booking, the logistics, the sponsorship, the site operations plan, all those types of things. It takes an incredible amount of time to plot everything out and do it properly, and so we really take a full 12 months for each festival to kind of get everything ready to go, and then it sort of culminates with the actual weekend of the festival and the play dates.
Sure. Now, with so many different things that need to be taken care of, what's one of the biggest kind of logistical nightmares that you've had to deal with?
I think there's pretty much every area related to a festival has some sort of logistical challenges attached to it. I mean, to me, it's not really a matter of whether or not you have challenges. I think it's the nature of the beast. It's sort of how you deal with those challenges and how you overcome them. I think you deal with, when you're dealing with this many many artists. You deal with a lot of sort of artist sensitivities and things like that. So that can sometimes be challenging. Is massaging all the artists to make them all feel equally loved. It's like you've got on the weekend of a festival, you got 50 or 60 bands playing. It's like you got 50 or 60 of your kids running around, and you're trying to make sure that each one of them feels as much love as all the others. But there's everybody that we have, whether it's our team of people that focuses on the artists, our production people, our site operations people, our marketing team, our sponsorship folks, everybody are really that's on our team. They're really pros at what they do, and we, I try to manage from a position of, you're great at what you do. Go do what you do, and I'm here to support you if you need it. And so I think they all cherish that responsibility, and they take their jobs very seriously. So for something to get elevated to me on site at a festival means that it's something that could be significantly problematic, like a weather issue or something like that, or a security issue, or an artist, their bus broke down, 300 miles outside of town, those types of things. So, in terms of, hey, we've got a vendor that lost power in their tent, that's not something that usually will elevate to me, because our team can handle that.
Now, you mentioned weather, and last year's season as well, so many of them seem to have a lot of weather things going on, which of course is out of everybody's control. But what types of kind of contingency plans are in place for some of the severe weather, like especially like Rock on the Range, I think, had some rain issues last year.
Oh yeah, Rock on the Range did. Rocklahoma, we had some issues as well. And it's par for the course. I love weather. I've always been fascinated with weather since I was a kid. So I jokingly refer to myself as an amateur meteorologist when I'm on site at the festival. So if there's any threatening weather, near the area, I'm typically glued to Doppler radar, watching it, by the second. But look, we have weather plans and protocols at every single festival we do, and that's part of the logistical planning that goes into leading up to a festival is having that plan and making sure that everybody on the team knows what the plan is. Because, look, weather is absolutely something that we can't control. What we can control is how we react to it and when we react to it. And those are, I think, the two key elements to, being able to, provide a safe environment at an outdoor festival is knowing how you're going to react and when you're going to react. So we've got detailed plans. It's just a matter of, when we get in that situation, we go into that mode and we say, okay, let's figure out what we need to do, and we do it. But we're prepared for, anything weather-wise. I mean, we've had, you name it. We've had rain. We've had, lightning. We've had tornadoes. We've had, we've even had snow. So, it's all sort of par for the course when you're producing an outdoor event. Sure.
Now let's switch it over and talk about lineups a little, because this year we've got a lot of different headliners at the different festivals. You've got, Foo Fighters at Rockville, Tool's going to be at Rock on the Range, Muse at Rebellion. So aside from, specific band schedules, what other factors are considered, when you're determining the lineup for a particular festival?
Well, I think what we've really tried to do, obviously we produce this run of festivals in April, May, into early June that we call the World's Loudest Month.
Right.
And in years past, there's been a lot of replication of headliners between the festivals. And what we've really tried to make a point of doing in 2018, and hopefully beyond, is listen to the specific fan base for each festival and try to figure out what it is that they want to see. Because that's so much of what we do when we're booking these things. It's not, it's not those of us, that are making those booking decisions sitting in an office, completely out of touch from our fan base. We pay a ton of attention to what our fans are saying on socials. We talk to them on site because we really want to have an understanding for what they want and what they like and where their tastes are going. And so we've tried to not just make uniform decisions of we're going to book this headliner across every every festival, because that headliner may work for a couple of them, but doesn't necessarily work for all of them.
Sure.
So we've really tried to listen to, the feedback from our media partners and the fans themselves for each festival to come up with who the right acts are for that particular festival. Case in point with Carolina Rebellion, we know that our core Rebellion fan base is the hard rock audience that is really excited about Godsmack and Five Finger Death Punch and Shinedown and Stone Sour and those types of bands. But we also know from listening to what our fans have told us and our media partners have told us that with a lot of rock stations switching their formats to being more sort of edgy, alternative-leaning rock stations, like The End in Charlotte,
sure.
A lot of those people are gravitating more to bands like Muse and Queens of the Stone Age and Incubus, and of course Alice in Chains, I think, sort of falls in that category as well. So that's part of the reason why we said we want to go outside the box with Carolina Rebellion in 2018 and really try to take a step to diversify this lineup a little bit. It's still a rock festival,
right,
and it always will be. But it's I think we definitely caught some people off guard when we announced bands like Muse and Queens of the Stone Age and Incubus alongside Godsmack, Five Finger Death Punch, and Shinedown.
Absolutely. And I love the diversity in the lineup, and I think that's one of the things that has set Carolina Rebellion apart in the last few years, is because you are bringing in those classic rock, alternative bands, and it's something special.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly right. And I think that, you said it just in what your comment was back to me. You've got classic rock, you've got rock over the last, 15, 20 years has, unfortunately, I think, gotten very segmented. You've got active rock, you've got mainstream rock, you've got alternative rock, you've got classic rock. And, my motto going into 2018, especially when I look at a lineup with, like Carolina Rebellion, is rock is rock. I mean,
absolutely.
Audiences have a wide variety of music that they like within the rock genre. And what we're trying to do is not be so narrow as to just appeal to only an active rock fan or a mainstream rock fan, but a classic rock fan too, and an alt-leaning fan. I mean, we're not going out and booking really light poppy alternative bands on this festival, nor will we. Every alt-leaning band that we have on this festival rocks pretty hard live, so they fit. But our motto sort of for 2018 is rock is rock. Let's not segment ourselves and limit ourselves to just being an active rock festival or just being an active and classic rock festival. Let's cover the gamut, because that's what the music fans and the festival fans actually want.
Sure. And now the festivals have evolved to a lot more than just music. Of course, music is the main attraction, but you've also got comedy, like Get Rock on the Range. You've got gourmet food and drinks, and Louder Than Life kind of spawned the whole Bourbon and Beyond festival. So how important is it to offer all these, variety of options to keep the fan base happy? And do you have anything new in the works for future years and festivals?
It's critical. I mean, we call it the other headliners, because all those elements, used to be sort of afterthoughts, and they become at the very front of the conversations, because look, there's a lot of festivals out there, and there's a lot of great bands, and a lot of other festival producers do a really great job of booking the great bands on their festivals. So we are constantly asking ourselves, what are our points of difference? What can we do to create a better experience for the fan than the other guys? Because we know that, how fans spend their money, I mean, this is very discretionary income, especially when you're talking about the rock audience and a rock festival. I mean, these are people that work really hard for their money, and how they spend it, I think they're very careful with their spending. So adding in all of those experiential attractions like comedy and like gourmet food and things like that are, we think, critical to the future of the festival, because it can't just be about the bands on stage. It's got to be about the whole festival experience, and that's really what we're selling. I mean, at the end of the day, we know that a majority of people aren't going to buy a ticket for an experience. They're going to buy a ticket because they love the bands that are playing.
Sure.
But they feel like it's money well spent when they get the full, well-rounded festival experience. So that's what we strive to give them. And again, all goes back to, that's part of why they've become 365-day-a-year work projects, because we're constantly, as soon as the festival ends, we're constantly thinking about what changes can we make for the next year to make it even better.
Absolutely. Now, with all these festivals we've got coming up, we are looking forward to the season as a whole, but what are you looking forward to most out of this 2018 festival season?
I'm looking forward to good weather. It's kind of hit and miss. I guess when we do so many of them in volatile, parts of the country that have volatile weather in the late spring, early summer, I guess we're sort of, playing the odds here a little bit, and maybe not all that well. But the weather challenges that we faced in 2017 really, it was hard. We got through it, and we kept everybody safe, and we kept everybody happy, and that's the most important thing. But man, it was hard this year. So if there's one thing that I'm hoping for, is that some higher power will smile on us in April, May, June of 2018 and give us warm temperatures and sunny skies each and every day. That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, that would be fantastic from a fan's perspective, too.
Excited about too. So.
Thank you so much for giving us this kind of inside peek at the whole festival experience.
You got it. Happy to.
Thank you. Would you be able to give us a quick shout out before you go for our website?
Sure.
Okay. It's BackstageAxxess, where the real show begins.
What do you want me to say?
You could just introduce yourself and say that you're listening to BackstageAxxess, where the real show begins.
Hang on, I gotta write it down.
Okay.
Backstage. Otherwise, I'll forget it. Where the real show begins?
Yeah, BackstageAxxess, where the real show begins.
Okay, you ready?
Yep, whenever you are.
Hey there, it's Joe Litvag, executive producer of Carolina Rebellion, and you're listening to BackstageAxxess, where the real show begins.